Cardiff City, Fav Birmingham. City, December 1984. This meet-up between two of the toughest mobs of all time went down in the history books of many who were present, and the encounters that followed kept up the folklore. This war created a rivalry that still lingers on, even today. Cardiff City's Soul Crew versus Birmingham City's Zulu Warriors. A match made in hell. Let's get straight into the stories. First, we have Cardiff Soul Crew member Colin, who told us, "We had a few run-ins with the Zulus over the years, but this was easily the best of them, or the worst, depending on your side. A cold December morning started with us having a massive hangover from the night out at Caesar's nightclub, where everyone got pissed and nearly everyone pulled a bird. Except for Nige, of course. Anyway, the next morning, we are in our main watering hole, the Philharmonic, who did this morning deal of 50p a pint. Across at the Royal Hotel were another 200 of our best lads, so we totaled about 400 altogether. We knew Birmingham would be coming by train mainly, so we drank while we waited for them. The plan was to ambush them from their police escort, or even better, if they turned up having avoided the escort, which they had done in the past. Anyway, it was quite late when they arrived, big mob being escorted straight to Ninian Park. We set about following them down through Canton, which is a suburb of Cardiff, and we met up with the King's Castle crew, so now we had 600 of Cardiff's best trying to avoid the old bill. At Sloper Road, a circular bus stopped, and a big mob came running towards us. But it was foggy, so we couldn't make out who it was until we heard Zulus being chanted over and over. At first we were taken aback and backed off, not knowing how many of them there were. Then we recovered and steamed into them, but they weren't moving. Then another mob from Birmingham came through the park and steamed into us from the side. The outnumbered police even let their dogs off the leash in a bid to quell the fighting. But the trouble continued all the way along Sloper Road until we reached the away end, the Grange, where more police managed to separate us and get the Blues fans inside the ground. Birmingham won 2-1, I think, and not much happened inside the ground due to segregation. After the match, nothing much happened, and we made our way back to the Philharmonic for a few pints and discussed what had happened pre-match. All of a sudden, one of our boys bursts in, covered in blood, and shouting, "The Zulus are here!" Everyone tooled up and rushed outside to find the Zulus waiting in the alleyway next to the pub. The problem was, they all had weapons, knives, machetes, cleavers, you name it. They steamed into us. It was pitch black, and all I could see was the whites of their eyes and the glint of metal as they swiped and stabbed. We had no choice. We legged it. We outnumbered them 2-1, but they were like robots, stabbing and slashing their way through us. Some of our boys were badly cut up that night, I can tell you. In all my years of following Cardiff, I can say we got annihilated twice. Once at Upton Park in 1979, and this time against the Zulus of Birmingham City. I can still see Gary and a few of the Neath firm running for their lives up Caroline Street, being chased by 10 black Zulus with weapons in the air. Best mob I've ever seen at our place, and they weren't much better at their place. But that's another story for another day, perhaps. Birmingham Zulu Clive told us, Cardiff away was always a guaranteed ruck. Cardiff at home was always a guaranteed ruck. In fact, Cardiff anywhere was a guaranteed ruck. Top firm always turned out against us, but unfortunately for them, they usually lost. This day was no exception. It stands out because it's not often you get that kind of result on top firm's manor. You know, we'd turn up at West Ham or Spurs or wherever and have a good ruck with them, but most of the time it was unclear who actually won the day. However, even Cardiff admit in their books that we completely destroyed them this day. It annoys me when other firms deny what really happened, and that's happened to us many times in the past, especially with Chelsea. They never seem to remember when they get done. Anyway, Cardiff, Ninian Park 1984. I remember it well, because being black, we stood out like sore thumbs. Nearly all of Cardiff's firm was white, which of course wasn't that unusual, but the police knew who we were, obviously, being a firm with a large black membership. We wanted to get into Cardiff early on, but they sussed us out straight away and put us on a bus to the ground. Near to the ground, we spotted Cardiff, so when the bus came to a stop, we pulled the emergency door handle and legged it down the road to confront Cardiff. Another of our firms appeared from nowhere, and we had it off toe-to-toe with a massive Cardiff mob until police reinforcements arrived and managed to corral us into the ground. Nothing else happened until the Philharmonic incident. We'd kept our heads down and somehow managed to avoid the police and settled in a small pub in the town centre. When one of our white lads came in and told us Cardiff's main firm were drinking in the Philharmonic round the corner, this was some time into the evening, probably 9 p.m, so we knew they had probably been drinking for the last 3 hours. Now was the time to show them no mercy. We were tooled up, but not to the extent that has been written nowhere near, but a couple of lads had big knives and swords. It was going to be carnage, but one of their spotters saw us. I mean, you couldn't not see us really. A mass mob of mostly black men strutting towards a pub renowned for hosting Cardiff's main firm. He was dealt with, but our surprise attack had been thwarted, and Cardiff came out to meet us. They had a go, they really did, so fair play. But we were evil that night. I mean, really evil. Cardiff had no choice but to run away. Some of them were stabbed or slashed. I don't know who did what to whom, but I do remember Cardiff running down the street with our boys chasing after them, as I was in a wrestling match with a big Cardiff bastard who I had to knock out before he would release me. It was annihilation really, one of the best we've ever handed out to opposition firms. The police arrived and arrested some of our boys, and I think some got done for the stabbings. The rest were put on the next train out of Cardiff and back to Brumland. Happy days. I think Cardiff tried for revenge at the next home match, but that's another story, ain't it? We thank Colin and Clive for their recollections. It's clear the Zulus won the day, mainly due to their use of weapons, which was a rarity in those days. But even so, Zulus and Soul Crew are both in my top 10 firms of all time. Having been to both grounds in the 70s, I can categorically state that Birmingham was by far the worst place. That horrible walk back to Birmingham New Street Station was a nightmare, with Zulus trying to ambush you at every junction. Cardiff was more peaceful, with them following our police escort across the road from us, but not really trying to attack us or anything. Probably just didn't hate us as much as the Zulus did. And I know other firms have had a torrid time dealing with the Soul Crew. I still just reckon the Zulus are a tougher firm. Anyway, just my thoughts on it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe as it really helps our channel grow. And please comment if you were at this match.